The year is 793 AD. A cold wind sweeps across the North Sea. Along the coast of England, monks at a quiet monastery begin another ordinary day. Bells ring. Prayers are spoken. The world seems peaceful. But beyond the horizon, long, narrow ships are cutting through the waves. Their dragon-headed prows rise above the sea. The men aboard are warriors, explorers, traders, and adventurers from the far north. Soon, Europe will know them by a single name: the Vikings. Welcome to Mark's History Channel. Today we're exploring the incredible true story of the rise of the Vikings. How a collection of Scandinavian farmers and sailors became some of the most feared and influential people in medieval history. Their ships would reach England, France, Russia, Iceland, Greenland, and even North America centuries before Columbus. But how did it all begin? Let's travel back more than 1,200 years and discover the rise of the Vikings. Long before Viking raids began, Scandinavia was a challenging place to live. Modern-day Norway, Sweden, and Denmark were filled with mountains, forests, rocky coastlines, and long winters. Farming was difficult. Only small areas of land could be cultivated. Families lived on isolated farms and relied on fishing, hunting, and trade to survive. Life was harsh, but it created resilient people. Young men learned to sail from an early age. The sea became their highway. Instead of building roads through mountains and forests, Scandinavians traveled by rivers, fjords, and oceans. Over generations, they became some of the most skilled sailors in the world. At the same time, Scandinavian society was changing. Powerful local chieftains competed for land and influence. Wealth brought status, and ambitious leaders constantly searched for new opportunities. Many historians believe population growth, limited farmland, political rivalries, and the desire for wealth all contributed to the coming Viking Age. The stage was set. All that remained was the technology to unlock the wider world. The Vikings possessed a secret weapon, not swords, not axes, their ships. The Viking longship was one of the most advanced vessels of its time. Built using overlapping wooden planks, these ships were both lightweight and flexible. They could survive rough ocean crossings while also navigating shallow rivers. This gave the Vikings a huge advantage. They could appear suddenly along coastlines, strike quickly, and disappear before defenders could react. Some ships carried dozens of warriors. Others transported settlers, merchants, and explorers. With sails and oars working together, Viking ships could travel astonishing distances. The sea was no longer a barrier. It had become an open road. The Vikings were ready to venture into the unknown. The event that shocked Europe occurred in 793 AD. Off England's northeast coast stood the monastery of Lindisfarne. It was a center of learning, religion, and wealth. Monasteries often stored gold, silver, and valuable religious objects. Unfortunately, they were also poorly defended. When Viking ships appeared offshore, the monks had little warning. The raiders landed quickly. Buildings were looted, treasures were taken. The attack sent shockwaves throughout Christian Europe. Writers described it as a terrifying sign from God. News spread rapidly. The Vikings had arrived. Although raids had likely occurred before, the attack on Lindisfarne became the symbolic beginning of the Viking Age. Over the following decades, similar attacks would occur across Britain and mainland Europe. Fear of Viking raids grew everywhere. As Viking confidence increased, so did the scale of their expeditions. They crossed the North Sea repeatedly. They raided coastal towns in England, Ireland, Scotland, and France. But the Vikings were more than raiders. They were also skilled traders. Viking merchants exchanged furs, amber, iron, and slaves for silver, silk, spices, and luxury goods. Trade routes stretched across Europe and deep into Asia. Archaeologists have discovered Islamic silver coins in Scandinavia, proving how extensive these connections became. The Vikings were building a vast network that linked distant cultures together. They were becoming one of the most mobile societies in medieval history. In 865 AD, a major Viking force arrived in England. Known as the Great Heathen Army, it was far larger than earlier raiding groups. Instead of simply attacking and leaving, these Vikings intended to conquer. Kingdom after kingdom faced invasion. Northumbria fell, East Anglia was defeated, large portions of England came under Viking control. One of the most famous conflicts involved Alfred the Great of Wessex. Alfred fought a long struggle against Viking leaders and eventually negotiated peace. The resulting agreement created an area known as the Danelaw. Within this region, Viking customs, laws, and culture influenced daily life. The Vikings were no longer just visitors, they had become rulers. While some Vikings sought conquest, others pursued discovery. In the late 9th century, Norse settlers reached Iceland. Families established farms and communities across the island. A century later, a Viking named Eric the Red sailed even farther west. After being exiled from Iceland, he founded settlements in Greenland. Then came one of history's greatest voyages. Around the year 1000, Eric's son, Leif Erikson, crossed the Atlantic and reached North America. Archaeological evidence discovered at Longso Meadows in Newfoundland confirms Norse presence there. This happened nearly 500 years before Columbus reached the Americas. The Vikings had become true explorers of the unknown world. Popular culture often portrays Vikings only as warriors. The reality was far more complex. Most Vikings were farmers, fishermen, craftsmen, and traders. Their society valued family, honor, and reputation. Storytelling played an important role. Poets preserved history through epic tales known as sagas. The Vikings worshipped many gods: Odin, the wise god; Thor, the thunder god; Freya, associated with love and fertility. Their myths spoke of heroes, giants, magical creatures, and the coming of Ragnarok. These stories remain famous today and continue to influence books, movies, and modern culture. By the 11th century, Europe was changing. Many Scandinavian kingdoms became more centralized. Christianity spread throughout the north. Kings gained greater control over their territories. At the same time, European kingdoms improved their defenses and military organization. Large-scale Viking raids became less profitable. The famous Viking Age gradually came to an end. Many historians point to the Battle of Stamford Bridge in 1066 as one of the final major events of the Viking Age. The era of Viking expansion was over, but their legacy remained. The Vikings transformed medieval history. They connected distant regions through trade. They founded settlements across the North Atlantic. They influenced language, culture, law, and politics. Their descendants helped shape nations throughout Europe. From the icy fjords of Scandinavia to the shores of North America, the Viking story is one of courage, ambition, innovation, and exploration. They were far more than raiders. They were explorers, traders, settlers, and builders of history. And more than 1,000 years later, their legacy still fascinates the world. Thank you for watching Mark's History Channel. If you enjoyed this journey into Viking history, please leave a like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss another adventure into the past. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.